Hey, is James Gunn worthy or does the Snyderverse need to be restored? We're going to answer that question based off about 2.5 minutes worth of trailer footage. This is Movies Good, Internet Bad. I'm Corey. That's Shane. We're talking about the Superman trailer. God knows everybody's talking about it. Shane, how are you today, my friend?
I'm great. I'm ready to make a definitive statement on this film based off of no information whatsoever.
Hell yeah, let's get into it. Subscribe if you haven't already, like this video, and let's roll. Superman is played by David Corenswet. Lois Lane is Rachel Brosnahan. They're the main characters. It's a love story. What did you think of the trailer, Shane?
I thought it was fine. I think it's always going to be viewed through this lens of like, if you love the Snyderverse and Zack Snyder, you're going to think it looked bad, and if you
Huh.
don't care about that, you might think it's fine. It's funny how that works, right? But
Yeah.
I thought it looked okay. I think some of the complaints I've been seeing on the internet are valid, where some of the CG shots look a little bit too much like The Flash with the wide angle
Mhm.
spinning camera shots. There were quite a few of them. I think that's probably just because they used the same VFX house. Like, I don't think it's a cinematography thing because that type of CG didn't really happen in any of the other, like the Guardians films that James
Yeah.
Gunn did. So I wonder if this is like there's a VFX supervisor that DC uses for everything, and he's still in charge, or she. But overall, I thought it looked good. I'm totally lost on all of the cameos and everything. Like, I don't know who most of the characters are besides Superman and Lois Lane
Well,
and Lex Luthor, but that's what you're here for.
allow me, my friend. So, Superman is in this movie.
Are you
I think
sure?
you probably knew that. Lex Luthor is obviously the main
Yeah.
antagonist. Mr. Terrific was in there, and he has a big
No.
role. He's a superhero. He's got some cool tech that he uses. The one scene when they're in the desert, he's got three little drones above him that create like a force field around him and Lois. That's one of his little superpowers.
Got it.
Um, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, played by Nathan Fillion,
Know
with
that
a
one, and I know Nathan
terrific
Fillion.
bowl cut. Uh,
Yes.
he was for the longest time like one of the backup Green Lanterns, because the main Green Lanterns are Hal Jordan and John Stewart, right?
Okay.
Which are going to be the two
Sure.
Green Lanterns that are in the show that Damon Lindelof's doing for HBO,
Ah,
and it sounds like Fillion is going to be part of that as well. So
okay.
that should be interesting. Hawk Girl was in there, and Hawk Girl is played by Isabel Merced, who
Yeah.
was in Alien
Alien
Romulus
Romulus. Yeah.
earlier this year. So pretty cool to see her. Um, Anthony Carrigan, who was famous for his role on the show Barry on HBO. He's playing Metamorpho, who was the close up picture of the guy that looked all messed up.
Okay.
That's actually a hero, not a villain, which
Okay.
is fun. He's also somebody who suffers from like actual alopecia in real life, which is part of the reason why they
Oh,
cast him,
neat.
which is pretty neat. Gosh, who else?
There's
There was a
dog.
guy. Yeah, there's a dog. His name is Crypto, not to be confused with cryptocurrency. He is Crypto, the super dog, and it, James Gunn apparently didn't really have a ton of ideas for Crypto, but then he adopted a dog of his own,
Yeah.
and it worked its way into the script. And he said that uh, the dog that he adopted kind of saved him. And in the trailer, you can see the dog saving Clark, which is pretty interesting. One other character that I'm not sure a lot of people picked up on. Uh, in that dark scene where Clark and Lois are in their apartment or office or whatever it is, and it looks like there's a giant explosion going on
Mhm.
behind them, that's actually a character, and that character's name is Solaris, and it is a living sun that is very evil. And in the All Star Superman run, I think it's All Star Superman. That Solaris has a big role to play, and James Gunn has said that he drew a lot of his inspiration from that. So that being said, that's a lot of characters,
Yeah.
and it's the antithesis of the way the MCU did things, where it was like, okay, here's Iron Man, he gets his movie. Here's Thor, he gets his movie. Here's Captain America, and now we're going to team them all up together and make an Avengers film. This seems to be just kind of dropping the audience right into a world where superheroes exist and just buckle up and get used to it. You know, I also think uh, the color grading is something that a lot of people online are talking about.
It's very blue.
Everybody has a degree in color grading now, um, but I think part of the idea behind that is that this is not our Earth. You know, it is an Earth, but it's a very fantastical Earth. And if you look at some of the Superman comics that they're drawing inspiration from, Metropolis glows gold and has big bright blue skies behind it. So I think that's kind of the idea that they're going with. It's also just a little bit jarring because we're so used to desaturated colors in superhero movies.
Yeah,
Like, go watch the new Thunderbolts trailer, right? Like, I think that movie looks good, but the primary color is gray,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, they raise the blacks on everything nowadays, and
Oh
I
yeah,
saw, like, whenever the first clip came out for this trailer yesterday, not the actual trailer, but the little
the teaser
teaser
to
of
the
the
teaser.
trailer. Yes, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is so oversaturated." It's like, "No, no, it's actually properly saturated. Everything else is just horribly desaturated now."
Right. Look
Um,
out your window
yeah,
and look at the blue sky and the green grass. That's what they're supposed to look like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will say it does fall into that Hollywood blue shadows. You can see it on the background that we've put on this video. There's a lot of blue in there in the color grade, but it's a stylistic thing. That's fine. It was shot digitally, and so I'm guessing they're trying to make it have a little bit more oomph because when you shoot stuff digitally, it's generally very flat, at least when
Yeah.
you film it normally. But I think it looked fine. There were a couple shots that stuck out to me that looked not great. I think the backlit silhouetted shot of them didn't look super great between him and Lois.
Is that the one
Um,
where they're floating up the lobby of the building?
no, it's the one like right at the end with like the hug or whatever. I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Um, but those are all CG heavy, so I'm guessing they're still working on a lot of that stuff. It's we still got like 7 months, 6 months until the
yeah,
movie, 7 months until the movie comes out. So a lot of that stuff will be adjusted. But it is interesting that, like you were saying, there's so many characters and a lot of superheroes, and it seems like the tone is very different than how the Snyderverse was, where
yeah,
Snyderverse everyone's very serious and sad and dark, and they were trying to like gritty, and I think they were trying to kind of make this crazy world in the real world and make that work. And I
mhm,
feel like it works for Batman and worked for the Dark Knight, and that's why they did it. But it always felt a little bit weird in the Snyderverse, where it's like this is this, gritty real world, and then you have like a super mutant alien thing that's
yeah,
attacking them, and it's like, oh, that's strange.
yeah. I
It kind
think
of
we have
felt that
to
way
take
with,
into account the Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012. The Man of
yeah,
Steel came out in 2013.
yeah.
Like, it was
I mean, it
literally
was.
a year later, right? It was
I
a product of
remember.
the time.
Yeah, when that trailer came out, it was like, "Oh, they're Dark Knighting Superman now,"
Superman, right?
because it
Yeah,
had like Chris Nolan's name all over it, and they're just like, "We're doing this again."
yep,
But it kind of fell apart whenever they had to bring in like the Superman villain, like the DC villains that are not the Riddler or the Joker or something like that. They're like some mutant being thing.
yeah.
So like the end of Wonder Woman always bugged me because the whole movie is like relatively grounded in
Oh
reality,
man,
except there's a super woman in there. And then it's like, no, actually, there's the devil, and he's gigantic, and
yeah,
he's
and it's Lupin from Harry
yeah,
Potter,
yeah,
CGI'd to holy hell. Ugh,
yeah. So whenever that comes in, it just kind of throws everything off. So I
yeah.
I think this is the right approach where they're taking things a little bit less seriously and just trying to make it more of like a comic book.
Mhm.
So I think it might work a little bit better. And like James Gunn's never been a super serious person.
No,
Even it even got him fired.
yeah. Man, I sent you that image. It was the dominoes falling,
Yeah.
and it was Disney fires James Gunn, and then all the way at the end with the big domino, it was the Superman movie coming out.
Yep.
What a wild story.
Yeah.
They're gonna write books
Yeah.
about that shit someday. But um, I I I agree that I think they're trying to make things a little more fun.
Hmm.
And I think, from a business perspective, people will bash me in the comments for this. Hopefully, pump that algorithm, baby. Um, the Snyderverse, while some of those movies are beloved by a large group of people, they never performed financially to the degree that Warner Brothers wanted them to.
Yeah. They
Man of
still did
Steel
well,
underperformed,
but yeah.
which is why they brought in Batman for the second one instead of doing
Correct.
a proper Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
And that got really bad reviews, didn't perform very well. They rushed to Justice League, that fell apart, didn't perform well financially. So I think Warner Brothers, their realistic goal for this one has to be $1 billion, or
Yeah.
else they're going to consider it a failure. Um,
Yeah. And
It,
none of the other DC stuff. It's weird, right? How like the first couple movies did really well in like all of their DC franchises, and then it
mhm,
just fell off.
they fizzle out. Yeah.
Like Aquaman made $1 billion. Everyone
Yeah,
forgets
and then the
about that.
second one made a quarter
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
It's
crazy.
fascinating, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a make or break movie. I think if it doesn't do well, then the entire new universe they're trying to build is kind of dead on arrival. And I think they know that, which is why they've started building this hype machine. I think I saw that the YouTube page that has the trailer, it's almost up to 10 million views, and it's only been 6 hours since
Yeah,
the trailer came out, which
yeah.
there are a lot of people talking about it, and a lot of people want to see it, and that's an exciting thing.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and
What's your favorite shot from the movie if you had one, or the trailer? I said the movie, the whole 2.5 minute movie. What's your favorite shot from?
I mean, I don't know. I like the opening one where it's just like descending on him at his worst kind of thing.
Yeah, coughing up
I
blood.
think that yeah, I think that works. I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't say there's a shot in there that like, oh my god, Greg Fraser shot this. This is a work of art. Like like the Batman where it's like the where he's leading the people through the flood, like that type of shot where it's like
Mhm.
iconic. They didn't have any of that, but it, there were some
Or
explosions.
Batman upside down walking towards the Penguin's car
Oh, that's
after.
true, that's true. Yeah, you don't have that. You don't
What a
and that's
shot!
the thing, like, if
Jesus.
you don't get Deakins or Fraser, it's hard to get that nowadays.
Yeah, I think the shot of him saving the kid was good.
Mhm.
When it went to the Snydery slow
It
motion,
reminded me
ironically.
so much of Snyder, like the
Um,
super slow-mo.
I also like the one where he punches himself out of the glass cage, which ironically enough is a sweeping 360 shot with a wide angle lens, which
Yeah,
is exactly what the other shot is that people complain about.
yeah.
I think the difference is that that one's indoors, so wide angle lenses don't work as well outside as they do inside, right?
I
Because
think
they
they do, just not in, spaces with no elements, like, it's just a desert with the sky,
with a big
like,
blue sky, right?
there's
Yeah,
no it's just flat, like, the image is very, very flat.
yeah. There's
And
got
it
to be a
also, like,
texture
looked
somewhere,
exactly like that same shot from The Flash, and it's like
right? Did you ever see the Flash movie, the whole
no,
thing?
god, I just saw
Man,
the terrible clips. I would never subject
whew,
myself to
that's a rough one. It's a rough one to get through. Poor Michael Keaton, man.
that.
They bring him
I
back.
heard
His
he
little
was the
mask
best
gets in
part,
the.
right?
I mean,
It
he is, but
yeah,
still, it's just like
just stuck in a bad movie.
stuck in a bad movie. Yeah, but that's all in the past now, and it's a new DC universe with
Yeah,
a potentially hopeful kind of idea behind it. At least with the Superman part of things, it seems like they're really going for the whole truth, justice, and the American way. Superman, the Boy Scout,
yeah.
all
It
of
almost kind of
it.
reminds me, and I'm gonna make the internet explode when I say this, but it reminds me of like the ending of The Last Jedi, where
Oh
like
no, don't
the
say it.
whole like Ryan's whole point was like he's a hero, he inspires children or whatever. It's the same kind of thing, right? You've got the little kid with the Superman flag, and he's saying
Yeah.
Superman. I
Well,
think it's about
it's a
that
different approach.
inspiration. Yeah,
Because in the Snyder movies, especially in the second one, there are a lot of people that are afraid of Superman.
yeah,
Even Batman, his whole thing is this guy's an alien that could
yeah.
obliterate all of us with a snap of his fingers, right?
But we see both. We see them throwing the can off the back of his head or whatever. So
Yeah,
interesting how they approach it.
yeah,
Uh, I
it will be interesting. But
I don't
I
know.
think this
Like,
is going to be a Superman who wants people to love him
hmm,
and to not be afraid of him, which will be an
gotcha.
interesting dynamic because he could throw a skyscraper from one side of the country to the other
Right, right.
with no problem. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. I think though, to really summarize things, the crux of the movie is going to be the relationship between Clark and Lois,
yeah,
and if they can pull that off and make it a captivating romance between the two of them, with the does she know, when does she find out that he's Superman kind
yeah,
of thing,
yeah.
uh, I think that's going to be probably the most important part. That and a good Lex Luthor, which Nicholas Holt,
Yeah. I,
he's on
I
a good run. So
I will say this has the same problem that Henry Cavill had, and that it's like whenever he's Clark Kent, he's also like unbelievably attractive. So it's like he's not like some nerdy awkward guy. He like if you showed me a picture of the Clark Kent from this movie, I'd be like, "Oh, it's a model." It's like, "No, no, that's the nerd guy." It's like,
yeah,
"Are you sure?"
that's the guy who trips over his own feet.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Get out of
He's
here.
on a magazine.
Yeah, but that's the balancing act, right? And Christopher Reeve has really been the only one to fully pull that part of it off.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill looked the role of Superman, but whenever he was Clark, he just was an insanely handsome, regular person, right?
Yeah, and I think what's weird though is like I think our views on what's attractive has changed over time.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah,
in general, like glasses used to be this like oh four eyes type of thing, and now like people that don't even need glasses will wear glasses as a fashion statement.
sure,
So it's
yeah.
like that has just changed over time,
As
and
as
so
I just keep doing
yeah,
this
right.
where
But it's just changed, right? Like you'll see the glasses that he was wearing in the movie are like glasses that like celebrities will wear
yeah,
with no
no,
lenses in
they're
them just
considered
to like
fashionable.
give them an
Yeah,
accent. Yeah, so it's just interesting.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we figured it all out, Shane. I think we know exactly what this movie is and how it's
Yeah,
going to go,
I
and we did that all with just two and a
clearly.
half minutes of footage.
Yeah,
1.7% of what the movie is actually going to be, and we figured it all out. So
I think we did.
I think that's going to wrap it up. We'd love to hear from you guys if you've seen this trailer, which 10 million people have already. So you're probably one of them. Go ahead and drop a comment below and let us know what you thought, good or bad. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're working towards getting to 100 subscribers. We're going to have a video out soon about Skeleton Crew and probably Nosferatu as well. So make sure to stay tuned for all of those. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.